Modest upside led by cyclicals. Mr. Mnuchin out saying this morning the U.S.-China has made a lot of progress. Those are his words on the trade talks. And so you see the cyclical rally here. Banks, semiconductors, energy, Dow transports. That's your classic cyclical rally here. And, of course, we've had a number of things that have been positive in the last couple of weeks overall. I think the important thing is we've got progress on trade talks. That's Mr. Mnuchin's words. But we've also got a very strong U.S. consumer that's out there as well. And then remember, we've got an ECB meeting this week. They're expected to probably lower rates. A lot of people say they don't need to. I think the ECB is going to go down swinging on this very strong on the rate cuts. The Fed rate cut also is going to be likely next week. All this coming together to get us not far from new highs. We're not there yet. But if you take a look here, the Dow Industrials, this was just prior to the open, by the way, 2% from historic highs, the S&P 1.5%, NASDAQ 2.7%. And I like to point out the Russell 2000 is almost 13% from historic highs. That's because it's loaded up with a lot of small cap financial stocks that have kept the S&P 2000, the Russell 2000, the small cap indice, back a little bit here. The rotation is going to be the big question. Remember, we've been talking about those low volatility sectors that keep dominating the markets, the consumer staples, the REITs and utilities, all essentially, let's not quibble here, at historic highs. The question is now rotation. If that trade story and stable economic growth, big ifs there, continue, can we rotate into the more cyclical sectors that have had a tougher time of it recently? So if you take a look at some of the big names here, like energy and banks and materials, 24% from their old highs. These are 52-week highs, by the way. Banks, 17%. Materials and industrials. And Jim made a very good point. We need some new leadership, and this is where the leadership will come through if we can get to new highs. The banks, the materials, and the industrials. That's a big, big question right now. I want to note on industrials, it's been a very rough ride for the industrials. Some are doing a lot better than others. So you got your Honeywells and your Illinois Toolworks and United Tech. These are big global names. They're only 4, 5, 6%. That's not bad comparatively. Some of the other names like Caterpillar's had a tough time. 3M's had a horrible year. You know, automotive has been really ugly for them. They've had to lower their guidance in the earlier part of the year, and that really hurt them. So this is a very bifurcated group right now. We'll see how that emerges. Elsewhere, it's going to be a busy week. IPOs, baby, they're back. September's a really hot month traditionally for the IPO market. That's going to happen. We're going to have 6, maybe 7 this week. Smile Direct Club, of course, which is one of those at-home teeth straightening companies. You think, how much money is there in that? This is an $8 billion IPO. This is one of the bigger IPOs this year, believe it or not. Cloudflare, which does web security, you know, the web services for companies, that's a $3.5 billion IPO. You put it all together, we've got 2 or 3 biotech companies. It's going to be a busy week. Is it going to be a record year? Because now's the time you start asking that. We were saying that earlier in the year. Doesn't look like it. $100 billion was about the record in 2000. This may be the second biggest year for them. We're not sure. 2014 was a big one on Alibaba, so it's going to depend on how things go. Here's the IPO ETF up 34% for the year. Remember, folks, the one we don't have this week, WeWorks. They may launch this week. We just don't know. And, of course, the valuation of that company has been an enormous issue over the last week. We'll see if we get some news in the next day or so on that.